I used to work as a night shift security guard at a self-storage facility outside of Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it paid well enough, and most nights were incredibly boring. The facility sat on the edge of town, surrounded by woods and empty fields. There were over 100 storage units spread across several long rows, with gravel roads running between them. After midnight, the place was usually completely deserted. One Friday night in late October, I was working alone.
The office closed at 9 p.m., but security stayed until 6 in the morning. My routine was simple. Every hour I would drive through the property, check that all the gates were locked, and make sure nobody was wandering around after hours. Around 1:30 in the morning, I was doing one of my patrols when I noticed something unusual. A single storage unit near the back of the property was slightly open. The roll-up door couldn't have been raised more than a foot.
At first, I assumed someone had forgotten to lock it earlier in the day. It happened occasionally. I parked my golf cart and walked over with my flashlight. The unit number was B114. As I approached, I noticed there was light coming from inside. That immediately put me on edge, because nobody was supposed to be there after closing. I crouched down and aimed my flashlight beneath the gap. I couldn't see much, just concrete flooring and what looked like the leg of a folding chair. Then I heard movement. A slow scraping sound, like somebody dragging something heavy across the floor. I stood up immediately and called out, "Hello? Facility security!" The scraping stopped instantly. I waited for a response, but nothing came. I called out again, louder this time. Still nothing. At that point, I radioed the owner, even though I knew he was probably asleep. There was no response. I considered calling the police right away, but first I wanted to confirm that someone was actually inside. I walked around the side of the unit, looking for any other signs of activity. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The storage unit next to B114 was also slightly open. So was the one beside that. 3 units in a row were unlocked, yet only the first one had light coming from inside. Suddenly, it didn't feel like an accident anymore. I returned to B114 and raised my flashlight again. Before I could speak, a voice came from somewhere inside. "You don't have to keep checking." The voice was calm, male, and sounded middle-aged. I couldn't see who it belonged to. I replied, "Sir, the facility is closed. I need you to come outside." A few seconds passed before the man answered. "We're almost finished." The word "were" immediately caught my attention. I hadn't heard anybody else. "Who else is in there?" I asked. No answer came back. Instead, I heard something much worse. A second voice, somewhere deeper inside the unit, began laughing. It wasn't loud. It sounded like somebody trying not to be heard. The quiet, restrained laughter sent chills down my spine. Every hair on my arm stood up. I backed away and immediately called 911. While speaking with the dispatcher, I kept my eyes fixed on the storage unit. Nothing moved. Nothing came out. The dispatcher told me officers were on the way. The next few minutes felt much longer than they actually were. Then I noticed movement from one of the neighboring units. The door slowly lifted a few more inches, just enough for me to see a pair of shoes standing inside. Whoever was there wasn't moving at all. I couldn't see their face, only their feet. What disturbed me most was how perfectly still they stood. They weren't shifting their weight or fidgeting. They were simply watching me. Then, another storage unit farther down the row opened slightly. A few seconds later, another one did the same. At that point, I decided I had seen enough. I got back into the golf cart and drove toward the front gate. Whatever was happening back there, I wanted as much distance from it as possible. I waited near the entrance until the police arrived.
When the officers got there, we returned together to investigate. Every storage unit was closed. Every lock was in place. The lights were gone, and the entire area was silent. Police searched the property for nearly an hour. They found no vehicles, no signs of forced entry, and no people. It was as if nobody had ever been there.
Before leaving, one of the officers asked if I had checked the rental records for B114. The next day, I had looked it up in the system. According to our records, the unit had been vacant for almost 3 years. Nobody was renting it. Nobody should have had access to it. That answer only made the whole situation more unsettling. About a week later, curiosity got the better of me. During daylight hours, I unlocked B114 and stepped inside. The unit was completely empty. There was no chair, no light source, and no sign that anyone had recently been there. Just bare concrete walls and dust. As I turned to leave, I noticed something scratched into the back wall. The words were faint, but still readable. "We know when you patrol." I quit that job 2 months later. 3 years have passed since then. Last month, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, nobody spoke. But somewhere in the background, I heard quiet laughter. The same laughter I heard coming from inside B114.